The Old Guard, released in 2020 on Netflix. Spoilers ahead. Let's get into it. So The Old Guard is a movie that came out during this lockdown pandemic thing that we're going through. I've seen it 3 times, which kind of gives you a hint of how I feel about the movie. Imagine if you took 2020 A-list actors and you put it into an 80s action movie. And that's kind of what The Old Guard feels like to me. The beginning starts with Charlize Theron, who leads a group of immortal warriors, and Andy's been doing this for thousands of years, and they go around the world helping people and trying to be a good force for the world, which is one of those driving themes, one of those driving motivations in this movie. They meet up, and I thought they did a great job of establishing the history, the backstory, through these very subtle hints like, oh, look, here's an old book for you because, we're really old, or oh, remember that time. I don't know. It's not so subtle, but they do a good job of establishing the history and the characters and that relationship within that team. So you realize you do get a sense that they've been around together for a while. They go and they meet Chiwetel Ejiofor, who is an ex-CIA operative, and he wants them to save a bunch of girls who have been kidnapped. So they go in and they are immediately ambushed. And recorded because Chiwetel Ejiofor, it turns out, he knew that they were immortal and he wanted to get proof. This happens in the first 10-15 minutes of the movie, and that's the basic setup. So now they are on a revenge mission. This movie does a great job of showing battle damage. So you have this great concept of these immortal warriors, and in theory, they can take infinite damage and recover if they are given enough time. They push the limits of that theory for the most part, and I think that they do it really well. So, for example, in that first ambush scene after they're massacred, Charlize Theron's character is lying on the ground, and a flashlight is staring at her in the face. And as she resurrects, her pupils constrict as if they're responding, and she wakes up again. And those effects and the pacing of it, it's all done very, very well. You accept it. You buy into that concept that they are immortal warriors who can take infinite battle damage. So they're on a revenge mission of how to get back at Chiwetel Ejiofor and who else knows. But there's a wrinkle. And the wrinkle comes in the form of Kiki Layne, who plays a U.S. Marine who has also been newly reawakened as an immortal warrior. But she doesn't know it yet. There's no program. There's no orientation to being an immortal warrior. You're just kind of brought into it. And again, I think they did a great job of not making it so easy for us, the audience, to understand, because it's really confusing for them to understand. And they don't really know what the purpose is. Why are they being constantly resurrected? Why are they living throughout history? Nothing's explained, but that's kind of cool, I think, because it makes sense. If you just were to survive, stabbings and hangings and burnings, you would be like, what's going on? I don't know why is this happening? And you get a feel for, man, they have gone through a lot, especially Charlize Theron's character, Andy. So now we have 2 missions. We have get revenge on Chiwetel Ejiofor and whoever else is behind him, and also find the new recruit for the Old Guard. So they split off and they go on their separate ways. I thought the new immortal angle was kind of unnecessary because you do have such a great introduction to Charlize Theron's character at the beginning. They do a really good job of establishing her character. So it's like, okay, I get it. You're old and you're a badass. And that's really kind of all you need to know. I don't know what Kiki Layne's character brings to the table, except for maybe the third act. And again, spoilers, because I am going to talk about the ending and all these twists and turns. I don't know what her character brings to the table other than her transfer of power from Andy to Kiki Layne. But in terms of the first half of the movie, it feels like kind of dead weight a little bit. It kind of slows the story down because as the audience member, I'm already bought into the concept of the Old Guard and I'm on board and let's go kick some butt. And so it's kind of like dragging when this new character has to buy into that concept. And you're just like, come on, get with the story already. And it's not the character's fault, but at the same time, it does kind of weigh down the pacing. So they track Chiwetel Ejiofor's character and they meet the big bad. in the form of Dudley Dursley, or at least the actor who played Dudley Dursley, Harry Melling. And out of all the characters in this film, I thought that his character was the only person who knew what kind of movie he was in, because he plays over the top bad man. Something that you would find in an 80s action movie like Commando or like Rambo, just really like the racist sheriff played by Brian Dennehy in Rambo First Blood. It's like that, just really like you don't really like them. They finally track down the big bad, and lo and behold, here's our first big plot twist. They have a Judas in the family. They have a betrayer, and it's Booker. And they've hinted at Booker's past. They've already shown from the very first 2 minutes of him being on screen that he's an alcoholic, that he has struggles with his past, that he has a hard time being an immortal. And it turns out that he's the one who betrayed the group at the very beginning. And you kind of get it. I kind of understand where he's coming from, what kind of emotional toll it took to be an immortal. And Andy herself is very tired of being an immortal, but he's the one who betrays the group. And this is where I start to go, because I'm not really sure why he had to betray them. I mean, if he was so tired of being an immortal, he could have just turned in himself and offered himself up and see if they could kill him, or see if they could end his immortality. But instead, he betrays the closest people he has in this world. And I kind of got it, but I kind of didn't buy the reasoning. At the same token, Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, pretty soon after that, betrays the big bad and helps the old guard, which, again, I don't really understand that character change. So it goes like this. At the beginning, Chiwetel Ejiofor betrays the old guard because his wife passed away from an illness, and he wants to eradicate illness through the big bad, Dudley Dursley, because Dudley Dursley is the CEO of a big pharmaceutical company, Merrick. Well, his character's name is Merrick. So he knows that they're going to use the old guard as lab rats, essentially. But then when they start treating the old guard like lab rats, he's like, oh, wait a minute, I thought they were going to be treated gently, or I thought that you were going to let them go. Like, you're going to hold on to them? You're not going to let them go? And it's like, okay, you're an ex-CIA operative who's turning over living subjects to a pharmaceutical company for experimentation. What did you think was going to happen? I find his naivety unconvincing. So then he betrays Merrick and then helps the old guard. And again, I just don't buy it. Those two twists of character, and then later on, after they're captured, Booker turns on Merrick and then helps the old guard again. So there's like four betrayals in this movie. And I bought the first one. I didn't necessarily buy the last three. Or at least I was like, that's interesting. I wonder why they did that. That kind of threw me off a little bit because I knew that the movie was trying to be twisty and turny and try to keep you guessing, but the twists and turns have to make sense within the internal logic of the movie, and it has to make sense within the internal motivation of the characters. And you could say that they do give sufficient reasoning for why characters do the actions that they do, but I don't think they pull it off 100% successfully. So at the end, they have this big, huge shootout battle, and it's awesome. And the best thing about this movie is the action, because there are at least like 3 great action scenes that are extended, including among the final ones when the old guard is rescued by Kiki Lane's character, and they just go on a rampage and they shoot him up. And Dudley Dursley, he picks up Charlize Theron's battle axe that he stole from her when she got captured. And it's awesome, and it's over the top, and it's cheesy, and it's great fun. Lastly, we get a hint at a sequel with an epilogue of Booker returning. Booker is kicked out of the group, and we get an epilogue where he's returning from another drunken stupor walking outside. And lo and behold, he sees Andy's old partner, Gwen, and they set up for the sequel. I don't know when they're making the sequel, but I am looking forward to it. So let's get into my ratings. For the production and story, I thought the production is great. They executed it flawlessly, I thought. The story was very interesting. It's an interesting concept. It's based, I know, on graphic novels or comic books. and they do it really well, and it's an interesting story. I give it a 9 out of 10. For a personal reaction, because I didn't really understand, I didn't really connect with the motivations of a lot of the characters' decisions in the movie. Plus, it's just a fun action movie, but it's not like it moved me or it made me think. So I give it a 5 out of 10. It was fine. It was good. But, you know, you watch this for the action. That gives the movie an average score of 7. What is your favorite 80s action movie? If you like this video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks. This episode has been sponsored by me. You can check out my photos at peterbkim.com, where I focus mostly on street photography and food photography. Take a look at the store, and if you like anything, you can purchase it as a postcard, as a print, as a mug, as a phone case. A lot of different options for people who are interested in purchasing my art. Thanks, and I really appreciate the support.